All right, so this week didn't go the Steelheads' way, but it is what it is. You know, they played a couple of really solid games on Friday and Sunday. Saturday, I'm not even going to talk about that one because you already know what I'm going to say if you watch the game live or if you watch the highlights back. They didn't look good. So I just want to start off by saying for this entire season, thank you for all the support because we received a lot of really positive feedback from these episodes. So if you're liking it, don't forget to, of course, as always, hit that subscribe button, hit the little like button, and it basically creates the ability for us to do content like this on a weekly basis. So thank you very much for the support so far this season. It's been awesome to pump out the content that I do for the Steelheads here, and you know, to talk every week is just something that's really, really special to me. So thank you all for doing that. We have a lot to break down. This one's going to be a shorter episode this week because there's not really a whole lot to say about the games other than, you know, they played well, but they just didn't get the results. So I guess we'll go into the first game. It was against the Hamilton Bulldogs on Friday, and that game was a little bittersweet, I think, for all of us because, yes, the Steelheads did end up getting the opening goal, but it quickly kind of shifted because they looked like they played well, right? And they were dominating a lot of the game. They were out shooting the Bulldogs. They, at one point, had a lead in the game. It was 2-1. And then, you know, it started to not go so well for them. Not that they were playing bad or anything like that, but they just didn't have the puck luck that they're used to seeing. So what happened was, and I'll recite this from the second period because obviously we know what happened in the first. It was 1-1. Second period starts. Cole Schwint gets a just crisp opportunity. The goaltender turns it over. Hamilton's goaltender turns it over right to Schwint, blasts it into the empty net. What happened was he was going out to play the puck. Schwint intercepts it, shoots it right into the open net, and it's 2-1 Steelheads at that point. And I was thinking to myself, okay, this is the momentum shift that they needed. They needed to get this in order to power back and take control of this game. 30 seconds later, Hamilton ties it up. I don't know about you, but that's not a good thing. And the reason why it was allowed to be tied up, they didn't... How do I say this without sounding like I'm criticizing them? There were two players who didn't have their man on those two goals, and that was Parker Von Richter on the second one, on the go-ahead goal for Hamilton. He lost his guy completely, and then Kai Schwint on the first one, who scored the goal. He just couldn't get back in time, resulting in that tying goal, and it is what it is. You know, there's not really a whole lot you can do about that. You know, it's one of those games that, you know, you're not going to win. It is what it is. I hate saying that, but it's the truth. Because at the end of the day, you played well. You just had a couple bad bounces and guys who didn't cover their man. And if you saw the post game with James Richmond on Friday night, which I uploaded to our Instagram, you can take a look at it below. He basically said that you know, they played well. And it was just when on the go-ahead goal for Hamilton, didn't have his guy. That's all it was. And then, of course, they got the empty netter, 4-2 final. Sucks. Not a great way to open a triple header. I think the worst game of the weekend was against Erie, though. And, you know, I've got a bit of a soft spot for the Erie Otters because I did have family who lived in Erie for a while, for many, many years. And, you know, looking back at it now, they've had a lot of great players. This Otters team, Connor McDavid, Dylan Strome, Alex DeBrincat, they have. But at the same time, I'm still holding on to that grudge in 2017 when, you know, they made the finals against the Mississauga and outed them, which, you know, it sucks. Obviously, it's a stupid thing to hold a grudge against, but Steelhead fans, they know the feeling who have been watching for a while. That was almost 5 years ago. Can you believe it? It's crazy. 5 years ago, the Mississauga Steelheads made the finals. This game was not supposed to be as bad as it was. I mean, they started great. Hardy scored the opening goal, and then it just started going downhill from there. So as soon as he scored the goal, they were turning over the puck a lot. They were taking a lot of penalties. Erie just capitalized on their mistakes a lot more than they should have. And on top of that, Bailey Erie got injured. And Why is that a big thing? Because number one, he's our starter. And number two, because your other options are Ryerson Leaders, who has been extremely solid, and Chaz Nixon, who's only played, 2-3 games and doesn't have a whole lot of experience. That's a little bit worrying. So Billy Airy goes down, and you're already playing on a team where Charlie Callahan, and I didn't mention this in the game against Hamilton, Charlie Callahan blocked a shot off the hand, so he was out for the game against Hamilton. He went down in the first period, didn't return to that game. Didn't dress for the game against Erie. Del Mastro, I'm not 100% sure what happened to Ethan, but he went down in that game against Hamilton too, so you're already down 2 defensemen. And neither one of them dressed in that second game, so Finn Harding and Liam Spencer were back in. And Liam Spencer is a guy who I'm kind of on the fence about. I don't really know what to think about him yet because he hasn't gone into a whole lot of games. He's looked okay. I'm not going to say that he's looked the, best defenseman in the league. He's looked okay, but I don't really know quite what to think about him, and it's not great the fact that one of his first games was against Erie in a game where, the team wasn't looking that great to begin with, except for that opening goal in, I believe, the first period. That was it. So you're already injury-plagued. You're going up against a team who is trying to really make a push in the Western Conference, and they're doing pretty well so far. I believe they're 4th in the Western Conference. I could be wrong. Last I checked last night, they were, and they're trying to really make a push in the Western Conference, and you're going up against a team who played the Hamilton Bulldogs the night before and are tired because you obviously have to make that trip to Erie. It's a couple-hour drive. They're taking the bus. They're obviously going to be really tired, right? So, it's easy to kind of take advantage of that, but my whole thing is I understand if you're going to do 3 games on a weekend. They've played way too many triple headers this year. I will continue to say that. Is it right? Absolutely not. But there's only so much that you can do, especially with a schedule as condensed as the league is trying to get it. I understand that, last year they did a good job at scheduling the games. This year it's a little bit different. They wanted to give teams a little bit of more diverse schedule. But I totaled it up. The Steelheads have played 7 back-to-back-to-backs in, I believe, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that, the first couple of weeks of the season. And it's just ridiculous. At this point, they're just playing triple headers every weekend. And it sucks because, you're never really, when you get to the NHL level, you never play 3 games back-to-back-to-back. I get that they're trying to get them ready, and they're also trying to condense the schedule a little bit, but it's not helping whatsoever, especially when you have to, the night before, leave for Erie. It's a 4.5-hour drive. 4.5? 3.5. It's a long drive to Erie. You leave the night before, you get there, you get some sleep, and then you have a game the next night, which, traveling sucks. Playing back-to-back games is not fun, but again, they just didn't start on time. It looked like they were playing pretty sloppy, and, can't really play that way. But it didn't help that their goaltender went down. They were out 2 defensemen. They were being outshot in the first period. They were being outplayed, and that's just how it happened. Erie was the better team through and through in this game, and the score not only kind of amplifies that, but if you watch the highlights back, then it's just, you'll see that Erie was the better team in this game. However, I will say this. There was a little bit of pushback in that third period. They were trying to make a comeback. Obviously, making a 7-goal comeback in the third period is pretty tough. But you did have some goals from the offense that looked like they were sparking something a little bit, right? That there's just to show them that, hey, we have a little bit of life left. And they did that. Now, that game was a bit of a disaster. They come home. It's a teddy bear toss game against the London Knights, which they've been hyping up for weeks now. And it's something that, that everybody was really excited about. We had a good crowd, more people than the home opener, which was pretty impressive. Now, This one was against the London Knights. And for those who didn't know, London is second in the Western Conference, only behind Saginaw. Yes, you heard me right. The Saginaw Spirit are first in the Western Conference. Wonder why. Now, London is always a thorn in Mississauga's side. Always. Every single time that they play us, there is some kind of problem that the Steelheads run into where they either have to make a comeback or they just, they don't play extremely well. Now, this game was the complete opposite. It went 0-60 right away. First 2 minutes of the game, Kai Schwint scores the teddy bear toss goal. And that was a pretty awesome experience. I mean, for those who have never been to a teddy bear toss game, it is pretty cool to see the first goal from the home team being scored, especially that early, because not only does it give them the team momentum, but it gives the fans something to cheer about. In a weekend where they were just battered with injuries and being outplayed and all of that really kind of brutal stuff, it gave the fans a little bit of hope that they might have a chance to win this game. And I have to admit, 2 minutes in, they started really well. But then, it wasn't a bad game by any means. This game, you can go back and watch it back. The Steelheads played a lot better than they did in Erie the night before. And, of course, obviously, no, they didn't get the win. But there's a good reason for why they didn't. And I think that out of the 3 games that they played this weekend, this particular game on Sunday was one that they deserved to win. Why was that? Because they played the way that they usually do, and they didn't falter. What do I mean by that? They play that strong offensive style. They played their defensive side. They played a great two-way game. Ryerson Leanders was solid up until, midway through the second period. Then he looked a little shaky, but he still played well nonetheless. Now, there were a couple of instances where I thought, this team is the foundation's cracking a little bit, but they didn't roll over and die. They fought hard till the end, and that's exactly the types of games that you want to see, win or lose, because they genuinely tried in this game. Now, after the first period, it was a pretty decently scoring game. London was ahead 3-2 after the first. Early in the second, they get another one. It's 4-2. It sucks. This is the thing that I wanted to talk about, why I said the Steelheads would have and should have won this game, that they deserve to win it. Not only were they playing hard, but there were 2 goals that were disallowed. Tell me if you've heard this before, but they should have been good goals. Now, the first one, I'm pretty sure someone's posted it on social media or in the OHL highlights from the game. The first goal was scored by Luca Del Belbaluz in what would have been his second goal, and the goal that he scored later on in the game would have been his hat-trick goal. Confusing, I know. This goal was very clearly across the goal line, right? And the fans saw it. I saw it. I know the players saw it. The referees clearly missed something. So it goes under review. I don't know what they were reviewing because that was clearly over the goal line. Stop me if I sound like a homer. But you can see it. It went over the line and then came immediately back out. And they called that no goal. Del Bell knew he scored. Everybody in the building knew he scored. And he got called back. Obviously, the fans weren't happy about that one, right? The players weren't happy. The fans weren't happy. No one liked that call. No one was a fan of it. The refs got booed. Is what it is, okay? They have a chance to come back and do it again. Just before the end of the second period, Bryce Cook puts his stick on it. Puck goes into the back of the net, right? It bounces. They call no goal again. And at this point, it's like I said in my tweet last night, the fans were livid. Nobody liked that call. They were booing the referees like crazy. I know that people wanted JR to challenge. He didn't challenge, which I found kind of interesting. But this was one where it didn't sit well with me because it was very clearly not a high stick. They called it off because it was a quote unquote high stick. But here's the thing. So the puck was already deflected. It was in the back of the net. and Bryce Cook's stick went up right after the puck went in the back of the net. Now, I don't know what your definition of a high stick is, but I can tell you right now, if it's higher than the crossbar, higher than the goalie's shoulder before it goes in, then you can classify that as a high stick. But this wasn't. It ricocheted off of his knee and then went in. I don't know what to say. I was at a loss for words last night, so much so to the point where I was going to record last night, and I thought, you know what? I just need to process this. Because again, it didn't sit right with me, the fact that they called both of those goals off on what would have been a 5-4 lead for the Steelheads. It honestly, it made a lot of people angry. It made myself pretty angry. I had no words. So London goes and scores another one. Their lead is, sorry, you know what? I said 5-4 lead. I meant to say they were tied. So London scores another one. It's 5-2 at this point. All of the energy in the building is gone. And there is not 1 second where I was thinking, oh man, they can do this. So I go down and I sit right by the glass. And that's the first time that I've done it this season. And what happens? They get 1. Okay, it's 5-3. They get 2. It's 5-4. And then with the last 30 seconds of the game, they have 2 prime scoring chances and just couldn't bury it. It was so close. So close to making an incredible comeback, but unfortunately, they just fall short. The weekend, they didn't get a single point, but they have a couple of chances to this week. They play a 10 a.m. game in Hamilton on Wednesday afternoon. I believe they're at home again to face Windsor on Friday. I think yes. On North Bay on Friday, and then they are in Niagara on Saturday. So they've got 3 games this weekend. Luckily, they're not triple headers. You got a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday. Boo. Is what it is. But these are teams where I think you can easily, if you play your hardest, you can win these games. North Bay is going to be a bit of a challenge. They're first in the Central Division by a lot. And there's a reason. They are a really strong team. They're very deep. They've got incredible goaltending, and their defense is just absolutely stellar with Ty Nelson on that first defensive pairing. They have done so much this season that I admire, but it's not going to be an easy task to win against North Bay. So with that being said, they need to prep themselves, get ready, play like you did on Sunday because it was a pretty great game played. Obviously, you want to just make sure to fill in any of the cracks that you have and play a little bit more structured defensively, get those scoring chances offensively, and of course, make sure that Ryerson Leanders is, if he is starting, if they're not giving Chaz Nixon the start, make sure that you don't leave him out to dry. You shouldn't leave any of the goalies out to dry, but just make sure that you're playing to your strengths the way that you usually do. And then that's going to be the crisp, key, easy way to win the game. Now, with that being said, I'm going to leave it off for this week. I know that I've been ranting a little bit, but I think this was a good episode. And I think, honestly, we covered a lot. There was so many chances that the Steelheads could have taken control of the game on Friday. They almost won the game on Sunday, and Saturday was just a train wreck. So it was 2 out of 3 that they almost won, and they played extremely well, but unfortunately they fall short. They didn't get a single point this weekend, but they have a couple chances to get them in the next few weeks. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification for all future content, and I will see you next week.